Hey everybody, welcome to my backyard. It is a beautiful day here in the Sonoran Desert, and I am getting ready to head off on another trip. But first of all, I want to thank all of you who have clicked that subscribe button. I just finished the first 10 videos of this YouTube channel. Had a lot of fun doing it. I'm planning on continuing on, but I need you to hit that subscribe button so I know to keep doing these. So please do so if you haven't subscribed already. So like I just said, I'm heading on another trip. We're heading for the Hawaiian Islands now. One thing I want to do before we leave, though, is address one of the comments that I got in one of the previous videos, and that is, am I going to share any of my development techniques? I knew at some point I was going to do this, I just didn't expect it so soon. So I'm going to take this opportunity while I'm packing to actually share a few things. And I'll be honest with you, the first thing in the development process happens before you even leave. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be laying all of my gear out that's going to go in my camera bag on the table. And I'm going to make sure I've got everything ready to go. I'm not leaving the country, so I don't have to worry about any foreign power converters, but I do want to make sure I have the adapters to charge and all the cables that I need for all of my equipment. I'm also going to make sure that all the batteries have been charged before I even leave. That way I don't have to worry about running out of power when I get there. The other thing I'm going to do is to make sure that the image counter on my camera is at 0 and that the calendar and time is set to my location. It just makes it easier for me to organize my images. If they're not, if you're in a different time zone, I'm going to be, I don't know, I think 6 time zones away, something like that. So when I try to organize things by day, it's not going to work out too well if it's still on Phoenix time. All right, with that, now we have to take a look at the development process while you're shooting images, because again, if you're not managing your camera while you're shooting, you're going to lose a lot of images. First of all, you're going to want to make sure you back up your images. Every night, I back up everything from all of my devices to 2 portable hard drives. Now I'm going to put a link to those portable hard drives in the comments section if you want to take a look at them. The reason why I do it to 2 is sometimes I'm on the road for 4 weeks at a time. I do not develop images or create videos during that time. I want to enjoy the experience, and I do all that stuff when I come home. But let's say one of those hard drives crashes at the end of those 4 weeks. If I didn't have the second one, I would lose 4 weeks worth of my time and investment, so I don't want that to happen. The other big thing that you need to watch out for is dust. You need to practice good dust management. I have ruined so many images because I was lazy and did not do good dust management. So even if you're here in the Sonoran Desert where we can see 50 to 70 miles at times, there's still going to be dust in the air. Or maybe you're in one of my favorite environments to photograph in, which is Venice, Italy. The place is absolutely amazing, but even though you're by the ocean, you have that nice ocean breeze, you're going to get dust. So what I do is, before I put my camera, or take my camera off the tripod, or if I'm hand holding it, sling it over my shoulder, before this lens cap comes on, I take a brush out of my pocket and I dust off the lens. Within 30 seconds, you're going to have some type of debris on that lens. So I've got my UV filter on here to protect it, so I can freely dust it off without scratching the main lens. Blow off the camera, the cover, put it on, and now I know I'm ready to go. Also, before I left, forgot to mention this, I'm doing maintenance on my primary and secondary cameras, making sure that there is no dust inside the camera body on the sensor, because that will also ruin your images. Now the other thing I'm going to be doing here is zeroing out my camera settings. There is some specific settings I like to make sure my camera's in every time I start a shoot, so there's no question what the exposures are going to be, and I can rapidly make quick changes if I need to. For example, I'm going to make sure my shooting mode is in aperture value, or AV mode. I'm going to make sure that I'm in f9. I'm going to make sure my ISO settings are at 100, and my AF drive is on rapid fire, because I do like to have the ability to bam 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 shoot images if I want to. The other thing I'm going to do is look here on my side. I'm going to make sure that my autofocus is turned on and my image stabilization is back on. Now if I'm shooting at night when I'm always on the tripod, I won't turn it back on because I don't keep the stabilizer on while I'm up on the tripod. Now the other thing I'm going to do is check the back of the screen and see if I'm in bracketing mode. I do like shooting brackets, but not all the time. And I have lost a lot of images because I forgot I was in bracket mode. So one was underexposed, the other one was overexposed, so only 1 out of 3 images was workable for me. So I make sure that's turned off. Now, another thing I do about zeroing out this camera before I leave is I change the date and time to the location where I'm going to be at. It just helps me organize my files better, and I make sure that my white balance is set to auto. So, with that said, we're ready to start creating some amazing imagery. So we're going to go inside here in a few minutes, and I'm going to show you how to handle grain when you have gradients. Like, for example, when you're shooting a sunset, you're going to have a nice smooth transition in your color, but it can also develop a lot of noise during the development process. So we're going to take a look at an image that I created in the last video from Point Loma, California during sunset, and I'm going to show you how I developed it and kept the extra detail I put in the foreground, but eliminated the grain that developed in the sky. Hey everybody, I decided to make a little change of plan here since this is one of the last few beautiful days we're going to have here in Phoenix before the summer heat hits. I decided we're going to stay outside and film the rest of this from the outdoor office. So I apologize if there's any airplane noise, because I see a few of them out there right now. But like I said, it's the last few days we're going to get before the real heat of the summer hits, so I'm going to enjoy it out here. Alright, so what I've got loaded up right now is Luminar 2018 and the image that we're going to develop today. Luminar is an incredibly easy product to use. You have to be careful that you don't overbake your images. What I mean is that you do so much to them, they're just not natural. But with this software, it's very easy to change the lighting, it's very easy to change the emotion that the image conveys, the story that the viewer is getting from looking at your photography. But again, you have to be really careful with it, that you don't overdo it. Since I sell my images on the stock photography market, I have to give the graphic artist some wiggle room, so I don't want to totally oversaturate it or take things to the extreme. But I do want to show you a little trick I have when it comes to working with gradients. As you can see on the screen, it is a very smooth transition right now. I'm going to zoom in on the sky, and again, we're still in the original image. I haven't applied any of my settings. Now, I do have a couple of favorites I have, and really the settings that are across the bottom of the screen, these are pretty much the only ones I use like 90% of the time. Now, I do like to add a little bit of saturation, maybe a little bit of extra contrast. Let me roll this back for a second and show you what this looks like. And I also like to enhance the small details if I can. So here's the the raw image, and wait for it. There we go. Now, that's a really good development. It's not overbaked, just some subtle changes, and I'm ready to process it. Or am I? Let's go ahead and roll this thing back to the original. I'm going to zoom into the upper left-hand corner in the sky where I have this really, really smooth gradient, this really smooth transition. I'm going to reapply this filter. Now, it may be difficult for you to see, but the before is on the left, the after is on the right, and what you can see is a lot of grain has developed because I'm focusing on tiny details. That is what we're going to eliminate, because I can tell you right now, if I were to submit this image to be sold in the microstock world, this would cause a rejection right there. I want this, not this. And again, the reason why I enhance the details is the foreground, I want to have more detail, but in the sky, I don't. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that little problem. What I'm going to do is, over here in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to add a new adjustment layer. So it's going to roll the image back. It's going to literally have another layer of filters on top of it. I'm going to tell it to keep the layer, the filter that I'm using right now, because I need that, and you can see it on the screen right now. But I'm going to add some denoise. Now when I do the denoise, I'm going to crank that thing up very high, and what you'll notice here on the screen, that almost all of my grains disappeared. We're going to take it up just a little bit more. And that overdid it, so we're going to roll it back, and I'm trying to filter out as much of this grain as possible. There we go. Now we're really starting to get a nice smooth transition. I'm really concerned about those upper corners, that we don't overdo it. Okay, so I'm going to leave it here for right now. I'm going to go ahead and move the image down into the area I want to keep details in, and it's really not showing a lot of details. Everything's been very blurred out, very smooth. I'm going to turn off this extra layer just temporarily, and I can see there's the details I want to keep. So I'm going to turn this back on, and we lose them. So the whole idea is I want to paint the second adjustment layer on top of the original, but I only want to paint the sky. So what I'm going to do is click the paintbrush, and now I can do my painting. The circle, there's two of them you see on the screens. The center one will be a complete painting, and then it gradients out to make things easier. I do need to turn the opacity on full so that the center circle is a complete transition to the second adjustment layer. And then I'm also going to increase the size just a tad, and I'm going to reduce the softness so that gradient is a little bit less. And now I'm ready to begin the painting. So I'm going to go ahead and just do an outline. Notice up here I'm keeping that center circle, the image completely inside the center circle. And then when I'm hitting part of the other image where I want to keep details, I'm keeping the outer circle close to those details. That way only a minimal transition to the more denoised image is there. And now I'm just going to run across the image, making sure that that center circle touches every part that I want to make sure has the more smoother image. And I'm going to release and say that I'm done. Now at this zoom level, you're not really going to notice much of a difference. So we're going to zoom in tight. I'm going to go to 100%, and again I'm going to turn off that filter, and I see the green. Oops, let me turn it off. There we go. I can see the green. I'm going to zoom back on down with that extra filter turned on, and I can see my details there. But when I turn it off, my detail's still there in the ground. So we did not cover up what I want to keep. I now have a very smooth transition in the sky, and I'm ready to export the image so I can upload it and start making some money off of it. So that's my little technique of handling those smooth transitions. Again, it's not that big of a problem in Luminar, especially with this latest upgrade that they did. They really took care of a lot of the grain issues for you. But when you really turn up the details, especially the small details, and let me go down here to this, oops, didn't want to do that. Especially when you turn on the small details down in this area here, you're going to start getting problems with grain in those smooth color transitions. That's when you need to take a look at doing this. Just a few extra minutes fixing the image can produce a lot of money if you're going to sell your images. So there you have it, guys, my first photography development tip. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, hit that subscribe button. If you don't know how, right now a little picture of my head is popping up in the lower right hand corner of the screen. Just click that, you're going to subscribe, and YouTube will let you know whenever I post a new video. And again, my next ones are going to be from Hawaiian Islands. Take care, everybody.